The moment he stood up, the room went silent. Parents turned, whispers rippled through the crowd, and the two guards moved quickly toward him. "Sir, you need to leave. Now, everyone!" Saw the old man's hands tremble as he clutched the small velvet box in his coat pocket, the one that held a medal no one in that room could possibly understand. And as he turned toward the exit, ready to walk away from his son's proudest day, 6 men in uniform, Navy SEALs, suddenly rose from their seats. The next 10 seconds silenced the entire auditorium. Tom Walters hadn't stepped onto a military base in over 20 years. The last time he had, he was bleeding. Not from a bullet wound, but from betrayal. He'd once served as a SEAL himself, one of the best. But one mission went wrong. A classified operation in Fallujah left civilians dead, and though Tom had followed orders, the blame fell on him. Overnight, the uniform he had honored became the chain that dragged him into disgrace. They took his medals, his rank, and his name off the record. But one thing they couldn't take away: his son, Ryan. From the time Ryan could walk, he'd wanted to be like his father. When other boys played soldiers, Ryan studied tactics. When others went to parties, he went to the gym or the range. And when his mother died young, it was Tom who raised him alone, quietly, away from the world that had turned its back on him. Now, 20 years later, Ryan was graduating from the Naval Academy, top of his class. Tom had watched from the back rows of the crowd, in his faded jacket and worn shoes, as hundreds of polished families filled the hall. The air smelled like starch and pride. Cameras flashed, flags waved, and applause thundered as each cadet stepped forward. He hadn't told Ryan he was coming. He just wanted to see him walk across that stage. But when his son's name was announced, Lieutenant Ryan Walters, Tom couldn't help it. His eyes filled with tears. He stood slowly from the back of the hall. That's when the whispers started. "Isn't that?" someone murmured. "That's the guy who—" Security moved toward him almost immediately. 2 guards in black suits, probably private security hired for the high-profile ceremony, approached him like he was a threat. "Sir," one said sharply, "you can't be here. You're not on the guest list." "I'm just here to see my son graduate," Tom replied quietly. His voice cracked a little. "That's all? Please step outside, sir." Heads turned. Phones came out. He could see the judgment in their eyes, the same eyes that once looked at him with respect. Tom didn't argue. He'd been humiliated enough times in life to know when to walk away. He turned toward the exit, eyes down, gripping the small metal box in his pocket, the one piece of his past he hadn't sold or burned. Inside was the silver star he'd earned before everything went wrong. He'd planned to give it to Ryan after the ceremony, as a silent apology, a bridge between the man he once was and the man his son had become. But as he took his first step toward the door, he heard a deep voice echo across the hall. "Wait!" The voice cut through the noise like a command. Everyone turned. 6 men stood up, all in sharp Navy uniforms, each with rows of ribbons on their chests. They weren't just guests. They were SEALs, and the real kind. You could tell by the way they carried themselves. The lead SEAL, tall, scarred, with eyes that looked like they'd seen too much, walked down the aisle toward Tom. "Is that Tom Walters?" he asked. The guards froze. The old man looked up, unsure if he should answer. The SEAL didn't wait. He saluted, sharp, crisp, full of respect. "Permission to speak freely, sir?" he said, voice tight with emotion. "We served with him. We know what happened. He's the reason we're alive." The room fell silent. Even the announcer on stage went quiet. Tom blinked, not sure if he was dreaming. The SEAL turned toward the audience. "This man saved an entire team in Iraq." Took the blame for something he didn't do, because he refused to expose a commanding officer's mistake that would have ruined careers. "You call that disgrace? I call it honor." One by one, the other 5 SEALs stood and saluted, and then, slowly, applause began. It started in the back, then spread, rising like a wave until the entire hall was on its feet. Tom stood frozen, eyes glistening, as his son Ryan walked down from the stage, still in uniform, and embraced him tightly. "I knew you'd come. Dad, Ryan whispered. For the first time in decades, Tom felt like he belonged again. But that moment, that applause, was just the beginning, because what came next would test both father and son in ways neither could have imagined. After the ceremony, the 6 SEALs approached Tom privately. They introduced themselves, men who had once been young recruits under his command, who'd grown into legends themselves. Their leader, Commander Blake Harris, said something that made Tom's blood run cold. "Sir, that mission in Fallujah, the one they blamed you for, it's being reopened." Tom frowned. After 20 years, new intel came up. Documents, reports, and a name. Blake looked him in the eye. "The officer who pinned it on you, Admiral Crenshaw, he's running for Secretary of Defense." "If the truth comes out, his whole career collapses." Tom said nothing. He'd long given up on clearing his name. But Ryan, standing beside him, couldn't stay silent. "Then let's clear it," he said. "Let's tell the truth." Blake shook his head. "It's not that simple. People disappear for less." Ryan's jaw clenched. "My father's not disappearing again." That night, father and son sat in the small motel room Tom had rented. The Silver Star medal lay on the table between them, its edges worn, its ribbon faded. "Why didn't you tell me?" Ryan asked softly. "All these years I thought you just gave up." Tom stared out the window. "I wanted you to build your own name. Not carry the weight of mine." Ryan reached across the table and gripped his hand. "Then let's finish what you started." Over the next week, the SEAL team gathered evidence. Old mission logs, classified radio chatter, eyewitness reports. And the more they found, the clearer it became. Tom had been the scapegoat. The night before the congressional hearing, Crenshaw's men made their move. Tom and Ryan were leaving the hotel when 2 black SUVs pulled up. Men in suits stepped out. Silent, efficient, Ryan instinctively moved in front of his father, but before anything could happen, 6 dark silhouettes appeared from the shadows. The SEALs. "Stand down," Commander Blake said, his voice cutting through the night. The tension was electric, the kind that precedes violence, but the men in suits hesitated. They knew what 6 SEALs could do. After a long, taut pause, the SUVs reversed and drove away. The next morning, in front of a panel of officials, Tom finally told the truth, calmly, without bitterness. He named no enemies, made no accusations. He just told the story of what happened. How orders were changed at the last minute, how civilians had been misidentified, how his report was rewritten before it reached command. The room was dead silent. When it was over, Ryan stepped forward and placed the Silver Star medal on the table. "This," he said, "belongs in the hands of a man who never stopped serving, even when the world forgot him." Cameras flashed. Reporters scribbled. For once, the world saw the truth. Weeks later, when the official statement came out, the Navy quietly reinstated Tom's honors. But for him, the real reward wasn't a medal. It was his son's respect. At Ryan's next ceremony, when he officially joined the SEALs, Tom stood front row. This time, no one stopped him. When the commanding officer asked if anyone wanted to pin Ryan's trident, 6 SEALs stepped aside to make room for one man. Tom walked forward, his hands steady, and pinned the insignia to his son's chest. The crowd rose in a standing ovation, and for the first time in years, Tom Walters saluted the flag, not for duty, but for peace. Sometimes the world forgets its heroes. But truth, courage, and love, especially between a father and son, can reclaim what time and betrayal tried to erase.